Williams, we know, had this amazing season, right? And part of it was he led the Bears on six fourth quarter comebacks. We all, of course, also remember that miracle touchdown throw he pulled off in the playoffs. But this is interesting. Bears QB coach, JT Barrett, he wants Caleb to, quote, do less this year. And you hear that and you're like, wait, what? But I want to read you his exact quote. He said, "We don't have to work as hard for our money. There's times where we could just work through our progression, get the ball out on time instead of having to create and extend plays." And of course, that actually makes sense, right? It's logical. But my question to you is Caleb the kind of guy who you think can do that? I mean, some quarterbacks are gamblers by nature, right? We know that. And, you know, are the Bears going to take away one of his superpowers? What do you think?
Well, wait a sec. Did you say the quarterback coach is JT Barrett?
Yeah.
Is that the former Ohio State quarterback?
Yeah.
Wow, he feels like a young guy, and he's telling Caleb to do less? I don't know. This is why I don't give interviews, Rachel. I mean, where's the upside for JT Barrett saying this? You think Caleb sees him in the building and is like, bro, what are you talking about? Do less. I'm the franchise. I'm the guy.
I mean, again, he's got logic behind it. He's basically saying, do your progressions. You could throw a more high percentage pass earlier in the down, and you wouldn't have to pull off a miracle. But again, you know, I've covered the NFL for a long time, and there are some players that are just gamblers by nature, right? Brett Favre, the most famous example, but Jameis Winston was an example. Jay Cutler, who used to have Caleb Williams' job, total gambler. They could.
All right, let's dive into this, because I'm well aware that a significant portion of the Chicago Bears fanbase is likely to feel agitated by this discussion. However, before anyone gets defensive, let me state clearly, when a head coach makes a statement like this, it is 100% accurate, and it holds true in virtually any scenario you can think of. So, what should Caleb Williams' reaction be to such a comment? If he finds it offensive or gets frustrated, then he fundamentally misunderstands the very nature of coaching. Interestingly, this is precisely the kind of approach Ben Johnson wants to implement. Moreover, this mirrors something Tom Brady explicitly said during a live broadcast while analyzing Caleb Williams in real time. I genuinely wish I had that clip readily available, but digging it up would consume an enormous amount of time. Still, that observation is part and parcel of the process. This is precisely why I have repeatedly argued that the Chicago Bears left an enormous number of points unclaimed on the field last season. Ben Johnson is fully aware of this reality. Caleb knows it too. The quarterback's coach knows it as well. This is the pathway to elevating performance to the next tier. This is how you transform this offense into a unit that consistently scores 30-plus points per game. This is the method for lifting this team and converting them into a dominant force. It does not rely solely on Caleb Williams pulling miraculous plays out of thin air. That is simply not how football functions. That was not the formula for Tom Brady's success. It was not the formula for Peyton Manning's success. It was not the formula for Patrick Mahomes' success. And it is certainly not the blueprint for winning Super Bowls. Therefore, honestly speaking, when I encounter a statement like this, my immediate reaction is, this is fantastic. There are mature, responsible adults in the Chicago organization who are here to guide Caleb Williams and draw out his absolute best qualities. That is genuinely wonderful. Before I proceed any further, Chicago Bears fans, please do not forget to hit that subscribe button and watch the full-length version of this video. When you do that, the view counts skyrocket. Subscriber numbers also go through the roof. This isn't about chasing superficial views. It isn't about obsessively pursuing subscribers. It is about being able to produce Chicago Bears content that people genuinely want to watch and engage with, so that we can continue having the most honest, unbiased, and level-headed conversations about the Chicago Bears. It truly makes a substantial difference. So, please do consider taking that step. But yes, to reiterate, if you are a Bears fan, you ought to be thrilled to hear this kind of talk. Unfortunately, I suspect many people interpret it the wrong way, and they really should not. This ought to excite you. This ought to make you deeply happy that you have a coaching staff that is eager to dive. Lop and support Caleb, helping him mature into the finest quarterback he can possibly become. I plan to produce another video because I came across something else. I suppose I will just post it tomorrow. I noticed a clip on Get Up Again. I did not watch it, but I saw it was about the Bears and Caleb and accuracy. That is another topic I want to unpack, and I do not want to tread on that subject too heavily here. I do not want to repeat too much of this video's content in the one I will upload tomorrow. Still, this is precisely the kind of area that requires development. This is exactly the type of thing that needs focused work. Tom Brady illustrated this beautifully during a game against the Packers. I cannot recall which specific matchup it was, which is why finding the clip would take me too long. But later in that contest, Caleb moves out of the pocket unnecessarily, and Tom Brady calls it out immediately, saying something like, "You are making this far too difficult for yourself. You have just cut the field in half without any need, and now you are forcing yourself to attempt a throw that is much harder than it ever needed to be." That is precisely what the phrase "do less" means. That is the exact interpretation. That is coaching. That is what Caleb should understand. That is what Ben Johnson will communicate to him. That is what every other coach in the building will point out. That is what the backup quarterback will note, saying, "Yeah, you see this like that." This is how the process works. It is intelligent coaching. It is smart coaching. And it is a shame that there will probably be some pushback. I hope there is not. I hope the comment section simply grasps what is being conveyed. But someone inevitably asks, how would you feel if Caleb Williams hears that? If I were Caleb Williams, I would walk up and ask, what exactly did you mean by that? In fact, if I am Caleb, I should already know the answer because I would have already had those conversations with my coach. The very idea that doing less constitutes some kind of insult is absurd. It does not make any logical sense. We have developed such a hypersensitivity around these quarterbacks, regarding what we ask them to do or what we ask them not to do, and it simply makes no sense. People seem to want nothing but universal praise and cheerleading, or alternatively, they want to minimize the impact of coaching. But this is coaching. This is genuinely what coaching looks like. Especially when you are an elite athlete with exceptional athleticism and playmaking abilities like Caleb possesses, it becomes very easy to simply call for the snap and then drift around aimlessly because you think, I can basically do anything right now. It reminds me of when I was very young, playing Madden or some similar video game. I would call hike and immediately pull the joystick back, making the quarterback instantly retreat because then I felt like, alright, I have the entire field in front of me at any moment. I do not really recall the buttons, but I think he would hit R1 or whatever button it was, allowing me to run. Then it would be, alright, I can throw. I can run. I can do whatever I need. I would just snap the ball and always drop my quarterback back as far as possible, thinking, alright, baby, let's go. When you continue to be an elite athlete from Pee-wee through high school and college, when you possess that ability to constantly make plays regardless of what is in front of you, then it needs to be drilled into you more firmly. We need you to operate within the structure. We need you to stay on schedule. We are a better offense when we are timely. Furthermore, Ben Johnson is going to be the best coach Caleb Williams has ever had. He will say, I understand that you have not had this opportunity in past years, but within this offense, if you play the way we are discussing, everything is going to become easier. Your statistics will go through the roof, our points will go through the roof, our production will go through the roof, and our team's success will go through the roof. We are going to be awesome. That was not the reality for you in high school. That was not the reality for you in college. That was not the reality for you during your rookie NFL season. But it is the reality now. You have to understand that this is how things work. This is the path forward. This is how we achieve our goals. This is what I always discuss, and people get ups. Because I bring it up constantly, but it remains the most perfect example. The vast majority of Patrick Mahomes' biggest, most meaningful plays are schemed. That is not to say that throughout the course of a season or a game he did not also work his magic, that he did not also perform off-script amazing, incredible feats. But 9 times out of 10, in the most significant games, in the most critical moments, in the situations where everything is on the line, where you will either win or lose, where you will either be considered an all-time great dynasty or not, those plays happen within the structure of the offense. It is not the version of Caleb Williams where he scrambles and throws the ball into the corner of the end zone to tie the game and force overtime. That is not the formula. That is not how Patrick Mahomes reaches the AFC Championship game every single year, gets to the Super Bowls every single year, and wins multiple Super Bowls. That is simply not how it was accomplished. Andy Reid literally had to make Patrick Mahomes do less. They wanted to develop the running game more so that Mahomes would do less. They thought last year that Patrick Mahomes did too much. They want him to do less. The Eagles asked Jalen Hurts to do less. They reached Super Bowls, and they won a Super Bowl. So, yes, that is smart coaching. That is smart structure. It makes perfect sense. Consider this as well. The Ravens asked Lamar Jackson to do less on their way to a Super Bowl victory. They needed him to do less. They could play tough defense, hand the ball off, and still win a championship. That seems pretty good to me. That seems like a very fair trade-off. So, yes, I think it is a real shame that we can see a sound bite like that and then try to manufacture controversy, when this is simply great coaching. This is literally just outstanding coaching. And if you are a Bears fan, you should be absolutely ecstatic and incredibly excited that you have mature adults in the building who are willing to say what needs to be said. That is part of the problem some people perceive with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, the fear that they do not have a coach willing to do those things. Maybe now with their new hires it is different, but previously that was a concern. And so, let me be clear, this is a good thing. This is a great thing. I will be genuinely disappointed for every negative comment I see, because this is fantastic coaching. So, let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let us spark some discussions, let us have some debates. But ultimately, let us just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you be a part of it. I want to create something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we are really excited to be part of. I believe we are well on our way to doing that. Please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it genuinely helps with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.